Hey, y'all, folks. Welcome back.
To Q-Tips. We are the Video Store Junkies, and we are back with some suggestions for you of what to watch this weekend on streaming. And I'm going to kick it over to Paul.
Oh, why, hello, Renee. So, today, my first film, I'm going to slip on my high heels for Death Walks on High Heels from 1971, currently playing on Tubi. This is a Giallo. Folks who are not familiar with what Giallos are, they are Italian thrillers, very popular, especially in the 70s and 80s, often very stylish. They're called Giallos because that's Italian for yellow, because that was the color of like pulp mystery novels, like Mickey Spillane and stuff, came out on yellow covers. So yellow or Giallo became the sort of this name for these mysteries, and they have a very distinctive style. So, Death Walks on High Heels from 1971, currently on Tubi, is by director Luciano Ercoli. And in it, an international jewel thief is murdered on a train, and his daughter, a high-class Parisian stripper, or striptease artist, I'm sorry, she's kind of being pursued because people feel that she may have the jewels, or so it seems. So it is. It's interesting in terms of a giallo because sometimes they have a reputation for not always making sense, and this one actually everything kind of lines up. It's kind of neat because the audience gets it just a hair before the character gets it, what's going on, and it's just a look from a character that lets you know the character got it. And so it's kind of cool. And then eventually the bad guy does kind of go, well, this is what I did. Ah, la, la, la. But instead of feeling really fake, it fits well and it kind of confirms. Or you go back and go, oh, yeah, I saw this going on. Yeah, it's really well done. It stars Neves Navarro as the stripper, I think Nicole Rochard, and though she's credited as Susan Scott. And she's actually, I believe she was Luciano's Ercoli's wife at the time, I believe. She's not given a lot to do besides strip and look like, like, oh my God, somebody's watching me. But and she's a much better actress than I think she deserves for this one. But otherwise, it's still an excellent giallo to watch. So again, that's Death Walks on High Heels, I guess. La Morte Cammina con I Tacchi Alti. My Italian is really poor, even though I'm of Italian heritage. And so, speaking of poor Italian, I will pass this over to Zach.
Oh boy. Well, you got half of that right because I'm definitely not of Italian heritage, but sure. I think I'm poor enough to fit into that demographic.
Well, I meant your.
Oh, my mastery of the language. Oh,
yes.
Geez,
at least I assumed it was. Yes.
That too. Okay, that's valid. I do want to give a quick shout out because I saw that Death Walks on High Heels is also on one of my favorite streaming services, which is the Arrow player as well. So,
yeah, because they actually released it in with a dual disc set of Luciano Ercoli with another. It was like, I can't remember. It's Death. It was another one with the Death Walks On title, and it actually starred his wife again, and it had most of the same cast and crew. But this was the better of the two films.
Were they a different kind of shoe?
Yeah, I have to look it up. I can't remember what it was. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
All right. Well, so I've got two picks this week that are kind of related actually, and you'll find out why in a minute. So my picks this week are for the nerds out there, or actually probably not for the nerds because if you're a diehard nerd, you've probably seen both of these. So maybe it's for the nerd curious out there who want to dip their toes into some nerd culture. Who am I kidding? Anyone listening to this podcast is a nerd. But anyways, so my first recommendation is it's actually one for the family. And this is actually a show that I've been going back and revisiting from my childhood, and it holds up surprisingly well. And I am, of course, talking about Batman, the Animated Series. And this is a show that first premiered in 1992. I think it ran for like 85 episodes. If you look up, it says it's 4 seasons, but on IMDb, according to IMDb, it's like season 1 is like 65 episodes, and then the following seasons are like 10 episodes. I don't quite understand that, but whatever. I'm pretty sure they're all streaming on HBO Max. And while the quality of the episodes is a little bit variable, especially at the beginning, I think even like the bad episodes are still kind of like worth watching at least once, and the good episodes are definitely worth watching because if you like Batman, you know that this is some of the best Batman stuff that's ever been adapted for the screen. Like I said, I watched this a lot as a kid, and I actually realized that even now when I read like a Batman comic, I still hear Kevin Conroy's voice as Batman. And I also hear, despite all the other great screen interpretations of the Joker that we've had over the last, 20 or 30 years, I still always hear Mark Hamill as the Joker when I'm reading a comic book. So this one obviously has his whole rogues gallery. They have kind of all the characters that you're familiar with from the comics, and they also have some characters that you wouldn't have been familiar with if you were watching this when it first premiered, because this is also the source of the Harley Quinn character. And so it's kind of notable for kind of spawning one of the most popular characters in his current rogues gallery. So once again, that is Batman, the animated series. It's just a phenomenal show. It is a cartoon that's ostensibly, made for kids. It was obviously a weekday cartoon that was, shown after school, but it is really well written. At least some of the episodes are. Like I said, it's variable quality, but there are a lot of really, really great episodes that are pretty well written, and as an adult you can kind of watch them and enjoy them on, I think, a slightly different level than you would as a kid. So that is once again playing on HBO Max. I'm pretty sure it's all the episodes. And speaking of creatures that lurk in the night and exact vengeance upon criminals, I will send it over to Renee.
That is me. Don't blow my cover. Man, I haven't thought about that show in a million years. I feel like it used to be in the afternoon, like maybe before or after Animaniacs. Like it was somewhere in that.
Yeah, it was part of that block because they were both WB shows. In
Yes.
fact, I think it was some of the Bruce Timm. Sorry, I'm cutting into your time here, but
No.
God, was it Bruce Timm? One of the guys. I'm totally blanking on his name now. Or I'm probably messing up the name, but one of the guys who was responsible for creating it, I believe he had worked on the Tiny Toon Adventures, if you remember that. So because that like predated those shows by a little bit, and then they had a bunch of kind of shows in the similar vein. But anyways, yeah, sorry, I'll shut up now.
Oh my goodness. So this movie, I was flipping around the other day and I saw this on Amazon Prime, and I thought, oh, this is a classic I haven't seen. And I think a lot of people have also not seen this movie, but they like to act like they have. And that movie is called When a Stranger Calls. Because everybody talks about this movie. Like Carol Kane, she gets a phone call, and the phone call's coming from inside the house. That shit happens in like the first 10 minutes. And I can always cut this out if you think that's too spoilery. But like 60% of the movie is Charles Durning running around chasing Tony Beckley, and Colleen Dewhurst is there. They take up a significant portion of this story, and it's kind of this cat and mouse game of trying to track this guy down. So it's kind of strange to me that, it's typical, I suppose, that people just grab that one small part of the story and that's the whole movie, which incidentally, they remade When a Stranger Calls in about 2006, and they took that 15 minutes and stretched it into the entire movie. So don't watch that movie. It stinks. So this movie, however, is quite good. It has Carol Kane and Charles Durning and Tony Beckley and Colleen Dewhurst and a bunch of other people. It is available on Amazon Prime and Tubi and Peacock and Vudu and a couple other places. And again, that movie is called When a Stranger Calls. And I'll pass this back to Paul.
I liked your Jay Sherman impression there, by the way. It stinks. Anyway, that's gonna show. That's gonna show up on a future Q-tips. Actually, it's one of those. That's one of those films that, I actually have never seen, and it's been on the list forever. So I will definitely check it out. No. Everyone knows that part of it. I mean, that's.
I mean, right? Yeah. I was just like, wait, this already happened. The movie. We're only 10 minutes in.
Where's the rest of the movie?
Yeah, it really messed me up because I had seen the remake.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
Well, jumping back into my recommendations. So my first film was a Giallo. Oh, by the way, the second film in that set was called Death Walks at Midnight. So unfortunately, they don't mention other kind of shoes. Yeah, I know, kind of disappointing. They missed an opportunity there. This film, though, this is The Bird with Crystal Plumage from 1970. It is currently playing on Amazon Prime, Con TV, never heard of that one, Fandor, Tubi, and Plex, and Screenbox, that's it. And this is Dario Argento's directorial debut. And it is probably one of the best Giallos ever. Honest to God. This is like a near perfect Giallo. In it, you have a an American author in Rome witnesses a murder from possibly a serial killer that he can't stop, and he knows there's something he saw that's a clue, and he can't remember what it is, and it is absolutely amazing. It's an amazing suspense film, beautiful, gorgeously shot, just a fantastic thing. This is one not to miss. This is sort of, like I said, the quintessential Giallo, and that is The Bird with Crystal Plumage on Amazon Prime, Con TV, Screenbox, Fandor, Tubi, and Plex. And speaking of quintessential Giallo films, it's Zach. That was a really bad transition.
I am a top 10. Yeah.
There you go. Well, I guess I could say, speaking of gloved killers.
We said that we wouldn't talk about that, but okay.
I was just kidding there.
Renee,
cut that out, Renee. Cut that part out.
Please edit that out. Anyways, moving on. I also, once again, have to shout out Arrow Player because Bird with Crystal Plumage is also playing on there. So, yeah, I just keep mentioning them because I hope they'll start giving me a free sub at some point. It hasn't happened yet, but whatever. I can dream. Anyways, so my second pick is actually very similar to my first pick, but whereas my first pick was for the whole family, you can watch it after school, you can sit down with the family after dinner and watch a couple episodes. My second pick is not for children. Please send them to bed. Please do not try to watch this with kids, even though it's a superhero show. It's very intentionally not for children. In fact, I actually skipped watching it for a very long time because the trailers for like the first season before it came out, like very, very directly had Dick Grayson saying the the famous line "fuck Batman," and which is very eye rolling. But despite the fact that it does try to be a little bit edgy at times, it's actually a pretty good show. And I'm of course talking about Titans. And this was a show that actually premiered on, God, I don't even remember the name of the thing. DC had like its own streaming service thing. I think it was like DC Universe or something. I think it lasted for like a year or something because they realized that people didn't want to just watch like 5 shows and pay like full price for a streaming service. So anyways, all this stuff luckily is over on HBO Max now, and I think the 3rd season was for Max specifically, and they actually have a 4th season coming out soon as well. But anyways, so I should probably get to what this show is about. If you're not familiar with the Titans are basically DC's kind of like younger heroes. Like I said, you've got Dick Grayson. If you're not familiar with him, he is the former Robin, and eventually he'd be Nightwing. And you also have characters like Starfire and oh god, I'm blanking on some of the other characters now because I didn't write them down. You also have you have like 3 other Robins. You have Wonder Girl. Yeah, those are kind of the big ones. There are a couple of others. I don't really read a lot of DC comics, so I actually wasn't really familiar with a lot of these characters. But anyways, it's super violent. It's super over the top. It is kind of a soap opera for nerds, but it's fun. Let's just say it's good fun. It's oh yeah, sorry. They also have Hawk and Dove on there. Who can forget Hawk and Dove? I probably could have because I was only tangentially aware of them. But yeah, it's very violent. It's very over the top, and it's kind of like obviously making an attempt to differentiate itself from some of the more like PG-13 fare out there, at least when it originally premiered. But I think it did a pretty good job of kind of telling some fun stories. Nothing is too heavy in here, but it's just fun, like I said. So anyways, I did also want to call out because this is from a very strange coincidence. Renee, one of the episodes in the 3rd season of Titans is entitled "The Call Coming from Inside the House." So I thought, yeah, I know. I thought that was kind of funny. Funny coincidence. So anyways, once again, the show is Titans, and it is on HBO Max. There are 3 seasons, soon to be 4. And what the last thing I'll mention about the show, I do kind of appreciate the fact they do have some of the like more heavy hitters show up occasionally, but they actually kind of don't. They seem to make a point of not having all of the big names show up, which I kind of appreciate. So they kind of let these Well, I'm going to call them second stringers. I'm sure we'll get a lot of angry notes from DC fans out there. But yeah, I'm sorry, guys. These are second stringers. And I mean, the guy who can turn into a tiger, there's a reason he hasn't had his own feature film yet. But that's fine because, like I said, this show is fun and it does a good job of letting these characters kind of speak for themselves. So speaking of teenage superheroes, I'm going to throw it back to Renee for her final pick.
Yes, that's right. So again, this weekend, as I mentioned, I was scrolling through the movies and, I decided to give Amazon Prime some love because I've been spending so much time on my beloved Tubi. However, incidentally, this movie is also available on Tubi. And, so I saw the cover of this movie. I thought, oh, that looks good. I thought the name sounds vaguely familiar, and I couldn't really place why. When I went to check the list, because I thought, well, this might be something I could recommend. It was on there because Zach recommended it last year. And that movie is Edge of the Axe. It is a kind of, it just feels like a good old American slasher movie, but it's not gory. So if you are somebody that's squeamish about the gory aspects of slasher movies, I think you would be fine watching this. On a scale of 1 to 5 bags of blood, I don't even think they used one completely. So not very gory. It's a, kind of a fun little whodunit. There's computers from the early days when you had to write things in DOS. So it was fun. It was just kind of a fun, goofy 80s slasher, and I enjoyed it. And this movie, again, Edge of the Axe, it is available. Oh, and also, the last time when Zach recommended it, it was not available on Amazon Prime. So I would like to let everybody know, if you passed it up last time because you didn't have these services, you can now watch it on Amazon Prime and also Shudder and Tubi and AMC+. And, yeah.
You know where else you can see Edge of the Axe, Renee?
Would that be the Arrow
You
Player?
can also see it on one of my favorite streaming services, the Arrow Player. Yes. I just want to say, I want to second that pick. And I mean, you mentioned computers. I don't want to spoil anything, but this movie should not be as enjoyable as it is because there's this entire subplot that dominates the second to third act of the film that's just all about these kids talking over a computer, and it should be really stupid and boring, and somehow it manages not to be. So yeah, I'm gonna second this pick. It's a lot of fun if you like 80s kind of I don't know if I'd call it campy. I guess it is campy, but if you like
a little tiny bit,
yeah, but it's different. Let's just say it's different than most of the American-made, horror slashers that you would have seen around the time. Because I think it was made in America, but it was made by a was it Spanish director?
It was, yeah. And actually, thank you for mentioning that. I just looked it up, and apparently some of it was filmed in Madrid.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's got a very unique lens. Let's just say that.
I agree. I enjoyed it. So I think that's all we have for today. Hey, does anybody have anything to sing us out with?
Oh, why? I just happened to. Yeah. So I was thinking, I've got 2 Italian films, and being of Italian heritage, I was like, well, I could sing it's a Italian American. We sung by an Italian American pop classic, and it was actually based on a Sicilian song, which is not Italian, it's Sicilian, and I'm half Sicilian as well, so I figure I could. So this is everyone's favorite. It's E Compare by Julius LaRosa. You can sing along if you want.
Ehi compare, ci può suonare, chi si suona un friscaletto, e come si suona un friscaletto e tipiti tipiti ta. Ehi compare, ci può suonare, chi si suona un saxofona, e come si suona un saxofona, tu un saxofona. Friscalette tipiti tipiti ta.
Come on, join in.
Ehi compare, ci può suonare, chi si suona un mandolino, e come si suona un mandolino, a pling, un mandolin, tu, un saxofona, un friscalette, tippity, tippity, ta. Ehi, compare,
Shelley!
ci posso suonare.
Shelley!
Chi si
Shelley, help
suona un violino, e come si suona.
For the weekend of July 15th, Paul recommended Death Walks on High Heels, available on Tubi and Aeroplayer, and The Bird with Crystal Plumage, available on Prime Video, Tubi, Canopy, Aeroplayer, Screenbox, Plex, and Flix Flings. Zachary recommended Batman, the animated series, available on HBO Max, and Titans, available on HBO Max. I recommended When a Stranger Calls, available on Prime Video, Peacock, Hoopla, Vudu, Tubi, and Canopy. And Edge of the Axe, available on Prime Video, Tubi, Shudder, Fandor, Dark Matter TV, and Aeroplayer.
La trombona, ma come si suona alla trombona, a fumma la trombona.